Hi everybody, I am out today on a walk and I actually want to talk to you guys about discipline for your kids today. I want to talk about 3 really good ways to keep from losing your mind and losing your cool with your kids when they argue with you. So stay tuned. So as I said, today I want to talk about something that we call the 3 cons. And I'll explain why it's called the 3 cons here in just a minute. This is actually a tool that I learned from my mother, and she learned it when she was a teacher at an in-service. It was a classroom management tool that they taught during an in-service day one day. And she used it on my brother and I didn't actually even really think about it because it was something that was so programmed into my brain. I was doing it with my kid too. And of course, well, my older kid, and then of course, my mom's reminding me like, hey, think of the 3 cons, and I'm going, okay, all right, I remember. So this is something that I had used on me as a child, and then also something that I'm doing with my 5-year-old, and I will also do with my 1-year-old. So I said they're called the 3 cons, and the reason we call them cons is you could kind of think as kids are kind of little con artists, to be honest. Our kids know us really well. They know what buttons to push, and they also know what they want. When they want something, they want it, and they're going to figure out any way to get it. And if that means pushing our buttons so they can wheedle their way out of it, they're going to. The first thing you want to do when you are starting onto this process is you want to identify your goal. You can't go outside until your room is clean. You can't go play. You can't go over to your friend's house. You can't do this until you do this. So do you need your kid to unload the dishwasher? So you identify your goal. What's your goal? The next thing is don't use a lot of words because kids, sometimes like our husbands, no offense husbands, they're going to cut us off. They're going to stop listening after a few words because they're kids and their attention is going to go somewhere else. So don't be super wordy. Have your goal, few words as possible, and make sure that that's exactly what you want, because once you tell them what you want to do, you're not going to change. And then you start into the con process. I mean, that is if they disagree. If they say, okay, Mom, then you can just pack this away for later. But if they disagree or they are giving you lip or mouth, this is when you start the 3 cons. So the first one is they beg, please, and you give in. The second con is they're going to argue with you or they're going to be disrespectful. And that's when you hook in for a fight and then the fight begins. And con number 3 is they just rebel and flat out say, no, I'm not going to do that. And then you beg or you start compromising or something along those lines. Those are our 3 cons that we're going to be unpacking. Con 1, as I mentioned, is they beg and you give in. So as an example, we'll use this example throughout the video. Let's basically say you want your kid to clean their room and they don't want to because there's lots of other cool things to do versus cleaning their room. So let's say you've said, okay, honey, I want you to clean your room before you can go, before anything. And then their friend comes and knocks on the door, or they hear the neighbor kids outside, or they hear the ice cream truck, and they, all of a sudden, cleaning the room, done. And they come to you and they start begging, Mom, please, 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 please. Kind of like this.
Please, 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 please.
At this point, I have some options. I can stick with my original goal statement, which is you can go outside when you finish cleaning your room, and just stick with that. And I'm not changing, I'm not saying anything else. This is the goal. You may go outside when you finish cleaning your room. So she's done her begging and she's done her pleading. I can stick with that, or I can kind of give in and I can say, okay, you can do it later, or yeah, that's fine, but you have to do it as soon as you come inside, because here's the problem. They come inside, it's time to clean up, get ready for dinner, homework, bath, bed. When are they going to clean their room? And the other thing is, once you've done that, is you've lost your authority. They've sufficiently manipulated you into doing what they want to do. Con number 2 is they argue with you and they say, you're mean. Nobody else's mom makes them play. Well, all my friends are outside playing. Why do I have to do it? Or they're disrespectful towards you. I don't know about you, but But hold on, let me help walk you through that. Stick with your original statement. You can go outside when you have your room cleaned up. It'll help. Stick with that statement, because here's the thing. If you hook in for the fight, if they're being nasty little turds to you and they're saying nasty things, don't you say that to your mom. Don't you talk to me that way. If you get angry, if you lose your cool, you've basically lost that round, because the one who keeps their cool wins. And that's the goal in all of this, is for you to keep your cool. You keep your goal statement. You can go outside when you get your room clean, and don't hook in for the fight, because if they can get you to hook in for the fight, then you've basically, again, you've lost your authority, because if they're going to argue with you and you argue back, you've lost it at that point. So as an example of con 2 with the arguing and the fighting, we'll see a little bit of that right here.
Mom, you are so mean!
One piece of advice I would give you on all of these, but especially on this one, because our kids can, like I said, one piece of advice I would give is be willing to wait them out. And if that means that your kid's going to be angry and, rude for a little while, or making comments for a little while, be willing to wait them out. Don't let them go outside and play with their friends just because they're being nasty little turds. You can wait this out. You can win this battle. Choose your battles wisely, but you can win this. Last but not least, we have con number 3, quite possibly the most infuriating one of all, and that is that your kid rebels or flat out says, no, not gonna do it, and you can't make me. I don't know about you, but my first inclination would be to snatch by the head, and you do, but we can't do that. So here's a nice little example for you.
I'm not gonna do it, I can't. You can't make me do it.
She rebels, she says no, can't make me do it. And I think probably one of the things that we're most likely to say at that point is, come on, honey, then you start to beg. Honey, here, I'll help you do it. I'll help you clean your room so you can go outside. And they've basically won, because they have manipulated you into doing what you told them to do. So you've given up your authority again by them begging and you giving in, because you don't want to deal with the fight, or you don't want to deal with waiting them out, because it's uncomfortable when you have a sulking kid. I shouldn't say uncomfortable. It's annoying when you have a sulking kid, or a kid who is flat out rebelling and saying no to you. I am your parent and they're saying, no, you can't make me do it. My suggestion would be for this con, if this starts to happen, be prepared again to wait it out. Sit in the living room, get yourself a magazine or whatever, the Bible, something that's gonna, kind of help you just calm down and sit and wait, and have them sit in their room. And if they want to sulk in their room and they sulk all afternoon, they can stay in there until you get your room clean. And if it's all day, it's all day. But again, you want to make sure, don't give in, don't beg, stick with your goal statement. You can go outside when you get done cleaning your room. To recap our 3 cons, the first one is they beg and you give in. The second one is they argue or disrespect you and you hook in for the fight. And the third one is they rebel or flat out say no and you beg them to do what you've asked them to do. Kids are opportunistic. And they have to be taught. They need to be kind of shepherded down this path. And doing these cons is also a great way to teach your children about consequences. For every action, there's a reaction. And so in this case, with the, cleaning your room or staying inside till you get your room clean, the consequence is going to be, so for their action of saying, no, I don't want to do this, the consequence is that they're going to stay inside and they're going to sit in their room until they get it cleaned up. And meanwhile, life is going to be going on and happening out here, whether that means they don't get to play with their neighborhood friend, or they don't get to watch the movie they wanted to watch, or whatever. There's consequences. So this is the 3 cons is a really good way to help your children understand that their actions in some cases have consequences. At least in our own home, I definitely feel like kids need boundaries and they need this kind of structure because otherwise they become, well, frankly, kind of bratty and unmanageable. It might not feel like a huge deal when you have a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old who's kind of a snot, but if you can imagine that this continues on and left unchecked, you have a 15-year-old. And right now, I can pick my 5-year-old up. I still can do that. You know, I can move her and that type of thing. When you get a 15-year-old, you can't really do that anymore. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be spanking a 15-year-old. I don't think it would work. Probably try to run away. So you want to get this under control before they get huge, because at that point, they're not going to listen to you and they're going to be out in the world acting like little turds. So anyway, those are the 3 cons. They've worked great for us, and I hope that they will work for you as well. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. I hope that you're able to use some of these 3 cons in order to keep your sanity with your kids when they're acting like kids. It's not perfect every time, and sometimes I lose my cool, but you know, other times it works really well. I hope that they work for you. Hope you're having a great day. If you like our videos, click like, and we'd also love to invite you to be a subscriber. We've got over 65 videos about family and kids and just the kind of the way we do life, and we would love to have you join with us on our journey. We have a Facebook page, it's the KT Files, and we also have a blog, it's familylifeandlove.org. So we would love to have you join with us on one of those mediums. Hopefully we'll see you again next week. Bye.